New at 6, a special edition of KHQ Local News exposing the harsh reality of CTE.
An emotional revelation by the parents of Tyler Hilinski, a WSU quarterback with a blindingly bright future who took his own life without warning.
5 months after Hilinski's death, an autopsy brings some answers. At just 21 years old, CTE had warped Tyler's brain into that of a 65-year-old.
Even harder to come to terms with, the disease that may have contributed to Tyler's death possibly came from the sport that he dedicated his life to. And when it comes to this devastating disease, Tyler Hilinski is far from the only victim. Thank you for being with us tonight. I'm Stephanie Vigil.
I'm Dan Kleckner. Football is a cornerstone of American culture. It's a sport that millions of families enroll their kids in every single year.
Yeah, like every sport, it also carries risks, including CTE. It's a neurodegenerative disease with horrific symptoms, including suicidal thoughts, drug addiction, and violent behavior.
But the disease is a silent killer, only diagnosed after death, as Tyler's parents shared in an exclusive interview on Today.
It was a shock to get those results and to find out that he had it, and to realize that the sport that he loved may have contributed to that diagnosis.
Medical examiner said he had the brain of a 65-year-old. We didn't see it.
His brothers didn't see it.
We didn't see it at all.
We begin this special edition of KHQ Local News with team coverage, bringing you everything from doctors addressing risks to Super Bowl MVP Mark Rypien, who talked today about his own mental health battle.
That's right. We talked with Mark first because 3 months ago, Mark Rypien felt compelled to reach out to our community after Tyler Hilinski's death. He revealed he too has suffered with depression and mental illness and believes he has CTE as well. Well, today I sat down with Mark to see how he's doing since our interview and to talk with him about the Mayo Clinic's findings on Hilinski's brain.
It's tragic, Steph. It's really tragic to hear about his story today and his family talking about him and what he could have been, and knowing if they would have known this before he started playing football. I don't know if there's a parent out there that wishes, that wants their kid to go through this.
Today's news did not come as a surprise to Mark.
99% of the studies they've done on people that have died have shown that CTE existed when they played this game.
Since our interview, Mark has continued his treatment and therapy, but has also learned more about many diseases that affect our brain. He wants to be part of the solution that helps people suffering from mental illness.
I'm part of this group, and I'm part of the group that wants to help you too.
Opening up is the best way to start, because that is when real change can happen.
The isolation piece is the biggest piece, and that's the piece that we're wanting to make sure does not happen.
Well, Mark and his wife are looking into developing an app that would allow people with mental illness of any nature to better connect with a support system that can help them through the dark days. You can also watch our entire special with Mark Rypien right now on your smart TV. Just download the KHQ app for your Roku, Fire Stick, or any other streaming device and click on the Q More section.
Well, KHQ's Joe McHale continues our team coverage in Pullman and spoke to WSU head football coach Mike Leach about this new information in Tyler Hilinski's death.
I spoke with Coach Leach earlier, who told me no one saw this coming, and while it's without a doubt tragic, Leach tells me the best thing for his team is to continue moving forward. The death of 21-year-old Tyler Hilinski shocked the Pullman community earlier this year. Why? Because no one saw it coming.
What was he like as a young boy?
Well, perfect, right? Sweet and fun and good and kind, and that's how he continued his life.
To help solve the mystery of what went wrong, Hilinski's parents donated his brain to the Mayo Clinic. Results from the autopsy showed the former WSU quarterback had CTE in the brain of a 65-year-old.
I think we need more knowledge on the whole thing, and you know what it is and how you prevent it.
We interviewed head football coach Mike Leach on Tuesday, who, in response to our questions about the brain disease, says he has more questions than answers.
Is it hereditary? What percentage of people have it? Does it develop? How long does it take? You know, does it happen in high school? Does it happen as a kid? Can it happen within a week?
As the team continues summer training, Coach Leach says practices won't change. Leach says while the focus is on football, it hasn't been an easy 6 months.
Well, I'm rolling along, yeah, it's been kind of a gauntlet. Life's life, and it's a very tough deal with Tyler. They need to move on and be proud that they had the opportunity to know and create memories with Tyler, and worry about, living their life in the fullest fashion they can.
And playing every down for number 3. And the university says they will be honoring Hilinski throughout the football season. Players will be wearing decals on the back of their helmets. The university will show a highlight video of Hilinski's playing career at every home game, and his parents will raise the Cougar flag on September 8th. That is the Cougs home opener. In Pullman, Joe McHale, KHQ Local News.
Well, Joe, thank you. Dr. David Greeley is a Spokane neurologist active in research and development to treat severe brain injuries. He has been a part of the NFL's concussion settlement, a $765 million deal with former NFL players over head injuries. He says Tyler's death raises awareness that brain injuries cannot be taken lightly.
I think we have to be a lot more engaged and understanding of the fact that concussions are serious, that it really is an illness, and to pull kids out and counsel them and try and explain about what the consequences are. But it's very difficult to try and explain to an adolescent or young person. It's tough to explain to anybody about how our actions affect us over time, but it can really make a difference if we, I think, educate people.
How should parents react if they have a young football player at home?
Team sports bring a lot to our development and our upbringing. I think we need to just be very careful, and again, I think respect the fact that if someone has a concussion, even if they're the #1 player on the team, that for their livelihood and future, that we should consider, pulling them out till they've fully recovered.
Well, Dr. Greeley says communication is the key to avoid a tragedy like Tyler's. If you are battling depression, reach out to family, friends, a counselor, a pastor, and seek help, because you are not alone. Researchers are moving beyond pro football and looking at the brains of college and high school athletes, and what they're finding is troubling. More and more young football players have signs of traumatic brain injuries, but many of the NFL athletes with CTE have never been diagnosed with a concussion. Our partners at the Spokesman-Review have much more information on these studies. Just go to KHQ.com's Find a Bar for the link.
Well, about 20% of teens said they have been diagnosed with at least one concussion, according to the American Medical Association. And nearly 6% of those kids said they've been diagnosed with more than one. KHQ local news reporter Peter Maxwell spoke with one local group about what they do to make sure the players stay safe. Peter?
Stephanie, when you step onto an athletic field for a contact sport such as football, you are knowing some of the risks. But one group, the YMCA here in Spokane, is offering 2 different types of programs. One is a flag football program for parents who don't want to put their kids at a risk of playing tackle football. And then there's the traditional game of football, which involves tackling. But the YMCA is teaching its coaches to teach its players how to tackle safer. Think that young players can't hit hard? Think again. YouTube is full of highlight reels of teens and younger players laying each other out hit after hit. But you won't find Spokane YMCA players on any of these reels. YMCA sports director Patrick Bryant runs all the youth tackle football leagues in Spokane and says safety is their #1 priority when it comes to protecting their players.
Especially those incoming parents, someone that might be new to tackle football, they are just making sure that we are addressing the same concerns that they might have.
Those concerns range anywhere from the safety of their kids to the age groups, but one of the topics often brought up by some parents is concussions, and Patrick says they train for this every year with their Heads Up program.
So every coach that signs up through us as a volunteer coach has to go through that training. It's not just head coaches, it's all assistants.
The reason is so that everyone is knowledgeable when it comes to the signs of a concussion. Some signs are double or blurry vision, slurred speech, pupil size, or feeling dizzy or foggy. And part of the Heads Up program is to teach players safer tackling techniques.
I think we've learned over time that you can be just as effective with the shoulder making plays on a football field and completely taking the head out of that. One of their main teachings is they refer to it now as shoulder tackling. Obviously, your head's up, your shoulders in the play, which takes the force away from your face and your head, which allows you to make more proper techniques.
Another thing that Patrick told me to mention to parents too is if your son or daughter is going to be playing a sport this coming fall, now's not a bad time to go to their doctor and ask for a baseline test for a concussion protocol. So if they do end up getting a concussion later on down the road, they know where to look and where to start. So if you do plan on doing that, do it soon. Reporting in Spokane, I'm Peter Maxwell, KHQ Local News.